Hi everybody, it's Owen from farfaraway.org. Last night myself and Phil played a 25-point caster kill game. We decided we'd just play a slightly smaller game since both of us were a bit tired. But it doesn't look like a small game when you look at the size of Phil's force. He had a tier 4 Grand Exemplar Kreoss, so that's Epic Kreoss list. In his list you can see there's 2 units of Exemplar Knights, a unit of Knights Errant with the unit attachment, unit of Min Bastions, the Fire Salvation Jack, a Seneschal, and then everything led up by Kreoss. My army looks considerably smaller there. It's led by Karchev, Beast 09, a Devastator, a Destroyer, and then the War Dog. This is actually the deployment view. You can see Phil's army looks really far forward. He has 2 benefits that affect his deployment. He gets a +2 inch on his deployment zone for the tier. He also has an advanced move on the 2 units of Exemplar Knights. I think the Errants have advanced deploy, so that's why everything is quite far forward. So I won the dice roll, but I let Phil deploy first and go first. So you can see Phil pushed up fairly aggressively with everything on his first turn. He allocated 1 focus to the Jack, so it ran up into position. He cast Sacrosanct onto the Errants. So basically Sacrosanct is if I kill any of them with an attack, the attacker is knocked over. And I think he cast Inviolable Resolve onto the Bastions. So in response, I cast Toe onto Karchev. I think I gave him the extra movement, and then just kind of walked up into position, towing the Jacks. Beast 09 was dropped on kind of his left-hand side, so he was closest to the Exemplars there on the right. He had a focus on him, 2 focuses I think actually. He did his imprint, which gives him boosted dice on living models, and then he charged in. Unfortunately, I only managed to contact one of the Knights. The other one was killed by a spray attack from Karchev. So really not everything I was hoping for there. Phil's next turn he made me pay for the kind of hasty charge. He charged Fire Salvation into me. Thankfully stuffed his damage dice rolls pretty badly, so Beast 09 only suffered a small amount of damage. He also brought some of the Errants forward and took some pot shots at Karchev, doing a couple of pips of damage. But he was getting himself into position to get some pretty nasty charges. I mean, Phil's army, pretty much everybody has Weapon Master. So in response, Beast 09 really did the business. I see he has 2 focus on him there. I put 2 focus on him and didn't end up using them. He really benefited from Karchev casting Unearthly Rage, which gives all of his Jacks boosted melee attack and damage rolls. Beast 09 was the only one, or melee. Beast 09 was the only one doing melee attacks. He did a Thresher attack, which took out 3 of the Exemplars. The other one was killed by Karchev on the charge. Careful not to try and kill any of the Errants. I didn't want to be knocked over by killing them. And then Beast 09 had a Thresher attack on the Fire Salvation, and then he punched him with his fist, and that was enough to total that Jack. One of the mistakes I made early in that turn was one of the first things I did was use the Destroyer to drop a Bombard on top of the Seneschal, but of course when the other living models were killed near the Seneschal, he came back to life with 1 wound. So that's the first mistake I made regarding the Seneschal. I made another one later, you'll see that. The Devastator, I just walked into a kind of a guarding position, so just to prevent people charging across or running across into the back arc for Karchev. So the next turn, things began to kind of hurt a little bit. The Seneschal charged into Beast 09. He managed to do quite a lot of damage to him, taking him down to 2 boxes. Then with his chain attack, he slammed him back into Karchev, knocking both of them over. Didn't do any damage to Karchev, I don't think, or maybe did a few pips of damage. But did the final 2 boxes of damage on Beast and destroyed him, so exactly what Phil needed to do. Karchev was then surrounded by the Errants. who proceeded to do some damage to him while he was knocked down. So that really hurt. And you can see the rest of Phil's army just started to close in. Kreoss charged up into the Devastator, using his armor-piercing attack to do a bit of damage on it, and the other boxes were kind of just pinged off by the bastions. So my army's looking fairly crowded here. Thankfully, this errant wasn't in melee with the destroyer, so when it came to my turn, I started off with the destroyer. He dropped a bombard on top of some of the exemplars that are coming up around the track. The Devastator kept closed up because there was no point in opening him up with all those weapon masters nearby that just eat through the Arm 17 when his armor's open. Karchev forfeited his attack so that he could essentially stand up. He cast Ground Zero, which is you center 5-inch AoE, and everyone in it takes a POW 13, so it's quite a nice way of killing off the errants without making attack rolls against them, so it meant I didn't get re-knocked down. I made a mistake here. I moved the War Dog up into kind of a guarding position. I should have just run him into contact with the Seneschal. Because you'll see on Phil's turn, the Seneschal charges into the back of Karchev and does a huge amount of damage. I think he left Karchev on one box, and then it became a fairly easy matter for Kreoss just to walk out of melee with the Devastator. I decided to make a free strike and it was game over anyway. He walked into melee with Karchev, and with his armor piercing roll, it was no problem putting the final damage box on him. So, good game. An unbelievable number of weapon masters to try and get through, but it was really good fun. Okay, thanks for listening.